For example, in our food production system, most of our food comes from, the supermarket, and they get it from the warehouse where a truck has transported it from a few big collectives, from large production, large agriculture. There's not a whole lot of redundancy built in. Now that more and more of us are getting into home-scale gardening, there is redundancy built in. We're starting to have home-scale gardens. We're starting to have lots of farmers markets, lots of that. People are starting to farm. Even people who don't have yards are starting to farm. People are starting to drink kombucha. Does anybody make kombucha? Rosina, you drink it? Yeah, it's this real fizzy drink that you make it's fermenting a live culture, and it makes a fizzy drink that is very refreshing. Kefir, yogurt, kefir, sprouts. Does anybody grow sprouts? I grow sprouts. I don't have very much sun. There's a lot of heat at my place. So any way that we can build in redundancy. Even getting to know our neighbors better is a way to build redundancy into our food system. How often have you had food that was going bad and you share it with a neighbor before it went bad? Or a neighbor comes over and says, I'm going out of town and I have all these fruits and vegetables. Do you want them? I mean, I've had that happen a lot. So we can start to build in a lot more redundancy. And so what's another system where there's not enough redundancy? I think maybe education. Maybe we could use some more redundancy in our education. Kids go off to school, they sit in the classroom, they learn, they're transported home or they're transported on wheels to some other place. What's some other education we could build in?
I was on a different track.
Oh, homeschooling. Yeah, we could have homeschooling. We could have skill sharing. We could have kids giving workshops to each other. Does anyone have a kid who likes to teach? I have two nieces who really like to teach.
Older kids are really good at teaching younger ones to read.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you go and they read with them, and the younger kids, in awe of the older kid, and they'll try harder.
Yeah, older kids like to teach younger kids.
And it's great because then the older kid, who a lot of times when you do that, you get an older kid who has less confidence in their reading. They become more confident reading the book to the younger kid.
Yeah, the older kids in turn become more confident. Yeah, and it builds a stronger system because different age groups are mixing too. And that's another, social redundancy. Right now, a lot of people are pretty isolated and maybe only mixing with people from a certain class or age group. So the more we can mix it up, the better.
Having seniors as part of the teaching.
Having seniors as part of the teaching mix, for sure. Yeah. Like, how many people never want to retire? Me? Like, why would I retire? No, I'm going to just keep finding stuff that I want to do. So that's the way to live.
I think there's a lack of redundancy in a lot of employment. Most people work for one person.
That's a good example. There's a lack of redundancy in our employment system. People, maybe their hours get cut or they lose their job entirely, and there's this I lost my job. Oh no, it's lost. My job is lost. And the good thing is that human beings have had the same set of needs for the whole time we've been here, right? So what? Food, water, shelter, transportation, community. So what kind of jobs can we do that are going to address those? There's a concept in permaculture called right livelihood. And that it has to do with doing work that meets real human needs, and also that where the workers themselves are working under fair conditions and are being compensated fairly and treated like human beings, where the workplace itself is a humane climate. I see a lot of really good organizations out there, a lot of organizations doing good work, but their employees get worn to the bone and not paid enough. So it has to work for all of the humans. So yeah, redundancy in employment. So what's some more good ways to build redundancy into our employment? Part-time, freelance. How many people are self-employed or do part-time work? Yeah. Has anybody gotten into gardening for work? There's some people out there doing little raised bed gardens as a business. And I think the demand is endless. I think if you're good at that and you need some more work, you might want to look into that. Do you like that? Or things like setting up compost. People don't know how to set up compost. They think it's really hard, and so they don't get around to it. I think there's a niche out there for people who want to set up compost and teach people how to do it. It seems so simple, but people aren't getting around to it.
Well, also to helping people set up beginner gardening.
Beginner gardening.
Something about doing that, because I came in from Houston, because I come to Austin a lot, and I thought about doing that on the side for those who've never been exposed to it.
Yeah.
I've been around it all my life, a lot of people have known.
Yeah.
So like her, she's new with the worms, and I watered them too much or not enough, you
Yeah.
don't know with plants.
Well, the Green Corn Project does that. They set up gardens for people.
They do. They do it for certain. They do it for low-income people.
Right.
You put your name on a list that's really good. They're really helping a lot of low-income
Yeah,
people.
and you can volunteer. I've been
You
volunteering.
can volunteer. Yeah. But I think there's a real niche for also for people who want to teach. You know, I think if everybody in this place right here was teaching something in their neighborhood, the demand wouldn't even be close to filled. Some people are hungry right now for education, for some kind of skills that they can really put to work. And the whole employment situation, how many people, I know for me, when I started gardening and learning how to solar cook and learning things like that, I just started to feel less dependent on someone else to give me income. Does anyone else feel like that? Have you experienced that? Yeah. So we're starting to do that. So redundancy is a real important key principle of permaculture design. You never have any important function that's not served multiple ways. Water is a good example. Let's take one quick, simple example of redundancy in water on the landscape. All right, where do most of us get our water? I get mine from a faucet. You know, comes from the city, you get it from a faucet. Let's make some redundancy on the landscape. What can you have? You can have what? Weirs to catch, to make ponds and so on. Rainwater harvesting. What else you can have? I can have gray water harvesting. I live in a little RV park with 17 neighbors, and there's a common utility room, and I collected about 30 gallons of gray water from the washing machine. All I did was the outlet is stuck in this PVC pipe that runs into the drainage system, but you can take that pipe out, and I put it in a trash barrel, a spare trash barrel, and collect that gray water. You know, you wouldn't put it on lettuce, but you could put it on grass, you could put it on trees. It's a free source of water. Someone's using it already, and use it to water that parched landscape. So rainwater, gray water, some catchment, any kind of catchment.
When you're washing or cooking vegetables too, I pour that water out on our
Pour that
lawn.
water out. Yeah, exactly. Just start building redundancy.
I don't know how you tackle it in the city, but you could do something besides flush thousands of gallons down your toilet.
Yeah, you could.
Can you repeat that?
In the city, to be able to do something besides flush thousands of gallons of water down your toilet. Now, one practice that's popular recently is that people don't always flush. You know, it's not people. Some people don't consider it necessary to always flush. If it's yellow, let it mellow. And you know, some people. It's getting to be a widespread practice. In my extensive observations, that's getting to be a widespread practice. And some people are setting up little backyard composting systems, small-scale backyard composting systems. It's a legal gray area. I wouldn't tell anyone to do something illegal. But on the other hand, if it's so small that nobody knows about it and you're not causing anyone any trouble, what's that?
I was just going to say, there's also the in-between stage if you're transitioning from a traditional toilet, you can get like a dual flush toilet.
You can get a dual flush toilet, yeah. And the city has those free ones, like they're trading in the conventional flush models for a free low flush model. At least they used to. I think they're still doing that. Yeah, Rosina says yes. Comment?
I'm a lead of leadership in energy and environmental design. One of the basic principles of that is why would you flush your toilet with drinking water? So if you could design your building to catch rainwater, gray water, use that to flush if you have to flush it off, or use composting toilets to get your flush away.
Yeah.
Dry toilets.
Yeah. And that's an idea to use in a regular toilet, to use gray water, to catch some gray water from whatever the washing machine or whatever, and see how that goes.
Indeed.
Yeah. Of course, if it has too much particulate matter in it, it might clog the toilet. I don't know.
You have to filter.
Filter it. Yeah.
I just imagine a building